Hello there, welcome back to another episode of Strife's Talking Points, and in this episode I'm gonna go after one of my favorite shows, Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, where John Oliver presents a series of falsehoods and misrepresentations, not backing them up with any facts or citations, in an effort to mislead people and hope they believe it's comedy. Now, years ago, I really did believe John Oliver was very funny, and I think he comes across as funny. I personally, not that funny. But I look at things analytically, literally, and try and work through what's actually being said and what's going on. Now, for his current episode, this I believe is from last week, he does the whole spiel about Boris Johnson, and we're just going to get into it, and, as commentary needs to go. I hope you enjoy. Please leave comments below. Feel free to like, share, let me know.
He had some very big news.
The UK has a new prime minister. Boris Johnson took over today from Theresa May, sealing the transition of power in a handshake with the Queen.
He bowed, then broke the rules by telling his new staff what she said.
Exactly, and it was apparently, and I quote...
Now, he goes for a quick joke there. kind of done with him overall.
Britain's new Prime Minister is Boris Johnson, and even if you know nothing about British politics, you're probably already vaguely aware of him. As Mayor of London, he famously got stuck on a zip line while promoting
Those for the Olympics.
the 2012 Olympics. And if you've ever seen a photo of him, you will probably remember it, because it's honestly hard to find one where he doesn't look ridiculous.
In fact, John Oliver actually goes over where this is something that Boris Johnson tries to do. He always wants to keep people off guard so that he can make his points. However, real quick Google search, I just threw Boris Johnson into Google, scrolled through. He looks very normal in a lot of these pictures. Sometimes, yes, he does look wild and crazy. Other times, there's a real gross one. Otherwise, he generally always looks fairly normal. He just has extremely light colored hair. Yeah.
But everything about his appearance is consistently immaculately wrong. Here he is.
And as John will tell you later in this episode, this is planned.
More than I'm guessing she did at that age. You may even have seen this clip that went viral recently of Boris's endearingly weird answer to a very simple question about what he does to relax.
I have a thing where I make models of... when I was in Mayor of London, we built a beautiful... I make buses.
You make models of buses?
I make models of buses.
See, they're going to be in Downing Street.
So what I do... No, what I don't make models of buses, what I make is... I get old, I don't know, wooden crates.
Yeah.
Right? And then I paint them.
So you're making...
All right, so his hobby to relax, to unwind, is to take wooden crates and paint it like a bus. That is probably the simplest hobby I think a person could get. And you'll notice they've got the kind of the laugh track, the giggles in the background, because this is meant to be strange. This is meant to be weird. Could you imagine if your hobby is making some sort of craft, knitting, painting, woodworking, metalworking, and that is the funny thing about you? That's not... No. It's fine. I mean, he likes to paint wooden boxes like a bus. He was a mayor of a city, lots of buses. I'm guessing that's a big part of what he had to deal with. And there he goes. He makes buses.
Okay, that's what you do to enjoy yourself.
I paint the passengers enjoying themselves.
Okay, great.
On the wonderful bus.
Okay.
And who knows if that was even serious or not, but, he's painting happy bus riders. And you can see Oliver's going for the kill here.
So three things about that. One, yes, it's magnificent. Two, there's just no way that's true. But three, if it were true, I now want nothing more than to see one of those fucking buses. Because if they're terrible, that's weird. But if they're impressive, that's somehow weirder. The very idea of the new Prime Minister painting crates buses in his spare time to relax is just endlessly fascinating.
No, it's just a hobby. John, people have hobbies, they do things, and they enjoy themselves.
In the Brexit campaign, famously riding around in a gigantic red non-crate bus with a complete lie splashed across the side of it.
No. What he said right there was that we send EU 350 million a week. Let's fund our national health system instead. Now, John Oliver just told you that's a complete lie. So here we go. Here is the policy, UK's independent fact-checking charity. This is a very pro-EU group. So, what do they send? $350 million a week doesn't include the rebate. So, yes, Britain does send $350 million a week to the EU. Out of that, they get certain rebates decided on by the EU on where this money comes back into it. So, the government has ended up funding $350 million, and then they get a rebate for about $100 million, which makes it about $250 million a week. And they also send money to private businesses, which the government of Britain really doesn't have a say in, for another $8 billion. So, or $4.3 billion. So essentially, the EU takes $350 million from the UK, sends $100 million back to things they specify, and then flips over and then funds businesses they choose to fund through the system. So, yes, the government sends over $350 million. Then the EU sends some money back to certain organizations as rebates. And then they also send money funding to private organizations. So this is not a total lie. This is actually a true statement that needs a lot of little caveats under it. And John just completely skips over that because using their own fact-checking, yes, and then it doesn't include rebates that are sent back in other ways. And $250 million a week is still quite a bit of money. So give that a mostly true. Put a little asterisk there and put rebate. That's it.
And now he is Prime Minister and has to face the challenge of finalising a Brexit withdrawal deal by October 31st.
Now, October 31st is the deal or no deal. Britain literally just ran their elections. Overwhelmingly in Britain, the people are pushing for Brexit. They want out of the European Union. The Nigel Farage's party, the Brexit party, only have one issue: to get out of the EU. That's it. They won the elections. They've taken over a majority of spots. That's it. It's over. British people want out. People like John Oliver in the media, who are only as part of this extreme far left, cannot understand that people want out. And here is just a moment or two.
Prime Minister, will you ensure that I and millions of others can sleep soundly in our beds?
This is one of the first speeches in Parliament from Boris Johnson. You can see him right here with the wild hair. Just been asked, will you please ensure that millions of us can sleep soundly?
Prime Minister! Mr. Speaker, I hesitate to do anything to disrupt the nocturnal arrangements of my honourable friend in any way, except to say that I think the whole country can sleep soundly in the knowledge that we are going to come out of the EU on October the 31st. We're going to get it done. We're going to deliver on the mandate of the people, and we're going to take this country forward in a way that I think it wants.
Peter Kyle.
No. He won the election. He is Prime Minister because the majority of Britons want out of the EU. Deal, no deal. Get them out. That's what they want. That's where people like John Oliver and a lot of these people on the far left, these extremists, they've taken over most media outlets. They don't understand this is what the people actually want. No matter what you hear, remember, the people elected this. They push for it and they're getting it done.
Which is less than 100 days from now. And the consequences of messing that up could have catastrophic ramifications for Britain, Europe, and the world. So
now, I've done actually a report on this before, went through it. If Britain drops out of the EU with no deal and fall upon world trade organizations, just the standard trade rules for international trade, they will have many better chances than going through the current of the EU. Mostly what you'll see is a lot of EU countries that are stuck in the EU trade rules as far as internalizing trade between EU member states will begin to have serious issues very quickly. One, food products coming into Britain from Ireland and a few of the European countries will stop. Well, then you'll start seeing American, Brazilian, South American, Central American products coming in, and Britain's market as far as food costs will fall. They act like the European Union has always been there. It's the only way business is done. It is not. All these outside countries are ready to trade with Britain. However, fear-mongering, you've got to do it. You need to make sure that people are afraid of this.
So tonight,
even though this show's probably only watched in the U.S. anyway, but they're basically lying to U.S. citizens.
we thought it might be helpful to explain who exactly Boris Johnson is. And let's start with the fact that, given that Britain's new leader is a clownish figure with silly hair and a passing relationship with the truth, you may already be thinking of the person you're almost always thinking about anyway.
Now, no one is really thinking about Trump all the time. They don't. No one does. Honestly, I forget sometimes what's going on in politics because I separate myself. But here we go.
And you are not alone in that. There have been countless headlines comparing Boris to Donald Trump.
Now, notice, extremely left-leaning, leftist activists. This shouldn't be considered a news company anymore, MSNBC. They are full-on Russiagate. The Guardian, extremely far left. Huffington Post, extremely far left. Those are the people who are comparing them because they're extremely far left, and anyone slightly to the right is literally Hitler.
And just this week, Trump did it himself.
They're saying Britain Trump. They call him Britain Trump, and people are saying that's a good thing. That they like me over there.
No, they don't.
No.
No,
hold on.
They don't. They absolutely do not. They don't like you over there, and no one ever says Britain Trump unless it's in the context of a sentence like, I'm getting the fuck out of Britain, Trump is coming to visit this week.
Now, I went and looked this up. Here's the survey that they used to figure out who's popular. Boris Johnson is 31. Theresa May's 27. She's failing. Jeremy Corbyn, Sadiq Khan, held up by London, which his city's fallen apart. Nigel Farage, the leader of the Brexit Party. You'll notice, the highest rated British politician is 31%. Donald Trump, 21%. He is not far off the pack. Now, if you go to this site, you'll notice, I gave up, that Obama sits down here to 72%. Now, if you don't know this about Obama, he started bombing countries all across the Middle East, North Africa, created slave trade. He literally coined the phrase, military combatants. Any male of a certain age that was killed by a bomb was listed as a military combatant. Innocent, doesn't matter. No effort was made. Just blow them up, kill them all. No recourse whatsoever. This is one of the most terrifying people, and he still has a 72% rating. Much higher than any other person that you would think of in him. But anyway, yes, low ratings. Just skip ahead a little bit. Oh, where is it? Sorry, I was prepared, but then I was unprepared.
Where he's talking about painting buses. Undeniably funny. But some in Britain have pointed out that it might have been an attempt to change the Google search results people receive when they look for something like Boris Johnson bus, meaning that people would see that delightful clip rather than this significantly less delightful bullshit. Now,
again, he's calling it bullshit. It's not bullshit. It just needs a little asterisk there. Otherwise,
was that actually his intention? It's impossible to know, but you can't rule it out either. And once you see the possibility that his gaffes are in fact calculated manipulations, you can't unsee it. It's like looking at the FedEx logo and finally noticing the arrow. Or look...
Yeah, there's a little bit more here. Honestly, once you start watching this stuff, he talks about, Boris Johnson hiding things like that. He talks about, he's politically smart, Trump is not. Because everything has to relate back to Trump when you're on the left nowadays, especially in the U.S. Trump tweeted something mean about the triumvirate, the quadruple people there, Ilhan Omar, AOC, some other people. And while they were arguing about that in the media, he ended the asylum ability for people crossing multiple countries. So if you fly from Africa to Brazil and you rent a car, get on the train, and you go from Brazil up through the rest of the country to get to the U.S. to walk into Texas and claim asylum, you can't do that anymore because you've crossed dozens of countries. If you come out of Colombia and you walk to Panama and then you walk all the way up to the U.S., you've crossed 4 or 5 different countries. You are no longer allowed to claim asylum in the U.S. because you've crossed XYZ country. And the way the UN, to my understanding, used to write laws is once you got to the first safe country, you were supposed to submit for asylum and wait for that country's results. People aren't doing that. They're just getting out of their country, flying to the U.S., going wherever they can to get to the U.S., walking, and he ended that. And all the media spoke about was Ilhan Omar. Greatest game of look over here, left hand, right hand. Then also during this same period, Trump has now won the Supreme Court's decision to use military funding to build a U.S. border wall. All while Trump makes mean tweets and then immediately causes huge change all across the world. And one of the things he talks about here in just a second.
Best friend, Jeffrey...
Here we
at
go.
the Times of London for completely making up a quote. In fact, his editor claimed Johnson was the single worst employee he's ever had and skipped many work days to hang out with his best friend, Jeffrey Epstein, which is terrible. It's not true. I just made that quote up. But now you can see just how irresponsible it is to fabricate them.
And now we're going to leave on that note because John Oliver just let everyone out there know what is going on. They're making up quotes, misrepresenting facts, just being terrible at all this, trying to say it's in the name of comedy. Boris Johnson was elected by the people. His government is now formed around him. He's going to deliver Brexit, which the people of Britain want. And the people he's fighting against are these far-left media elites like John Oliver, like all of these various news organizations that are just lying 24/7, making up quotes, falsifying information just to try and bring them down. It's failing. People aren't believing this stuff anymore. And I just wanted to throw out there that if you take 2 minutes and research Boris Johnson and you don't only look at straight up liberal sites which are being false to you, you can find a lot of good information about what's going on in the UK. Whereas John Oliver can't. He must write this comedy. He must be on the attack. And he doesn't even understand that him and his people, these liberal elites of Hollywood and New York, are failing. People don't believe them anymore. And I'd like to say thank you all for watching. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Pretty sure I'm going to title this one Last Week's Lies. I don't know, but it is so bad. Thank you all for watching and have a great day.